hardest things in life, right? I just posted this. One of the hardest things in life is challenging your perspective. Um, our perspective is how we view the world, how we view scenario situations around us, and usually it favors ourselves. It's usually self-serving. We don't always acknowledge or recognize that. So challenging your perspective is one of the hardest things that you can do in the world. Even harder is to change that perspective after you challenged it, recognizing that you were incorrect in something you previously believed, whether this is placing blame in a situation that you thought you were guilt free from. You know what I mean? And I've had a revelation like this recently when I reflected on a situation. So, uh, when I realized years ago that I had to adjust my thinking and thought patterns, and I've realized how much that contributed to the actions, the negative actions and the negative outcomes in my life. When I realized that, right? I started giving a lot of thought. I've always been an overthinker, but I started overthinking more. I started giving a lot of thought to everything. When a situation would happen, a serious situation in prison or a serious situation almost happened, I would go back and I'd look and I'd analyze the situation and how I contributed to it. Because we can never place blame on somebody else. No matter where you're at in life, it is partially because of what you have done and how you have put yourself. There's always external factors. There's always things that contribute to that. However, we cannot change what other people do. We can't change certain things around us. We can only change what's in ourselves, right? So you know, overthinking, that's where my overthinking came in. I would sit in my cell and I would just think for years, I mean, for hours or whatever, about whatever situation. Almost got in a fight or almost got violent on this. Well, how did I contribute to that situation that led it to getting to that point? Even though the other person did this and that, we're very quick to say, oh, this other person did that and that and that, and you think you're guilt free. But then when you go back and you look and you really analyze the situation and the thought patterns and the processes that you contributed to, or that led to you contributing in whatever manner you contributed for whatever issue that occurred, right? Then you start realizing, like, well, there's always something you can do to have prevented a negative scenario from occurring, right? So that's why overthink in prison, you kind of have to overthink because this is your safety. You have to think about everything. You know what I mean? Uh, So accountability, right? Like I said, I had a revelation recently, and that's why there's been a situation that has happened, fairly recently that was kind of a whole thing. And I just thought, like, man, I did. But then I realized and I sat back, and part of maturing, uh, and growing just in general is being able to challenge your perspective and adjusting it accordingly. And I realized, like, oh, I got to take accountability. I'm not as innocent as I thought. And I thought I was completely, that doesn't mean I necessarily wronged anybody in what I'm referring to. However, I wronged myself and uh, something that was good for me because of wrong, not necessarily a type of thinking that wasn't conducive with what was positive in my life at times. Not trying to bring up anything specific. That's not the point, bro. The point is, I was so set on telling somebody else that they had to change their perspective and that they were looking at something the wrong way and that they were the issue. And then I realized, like, oh, bro, you played a part in this because if this didn't happen, it's domino effect. If this didn't happen or you didn't suggest it, it wouldn't have went to where it went. So I have to hold myself accountable. And that's where this video comes in. I want you guys to do the same, man. Challenge your perspective. How you view things is not necessarily reality. It's your reality, and you're going to react as if that is reality. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that it truly is. It's just reality is uh everybody's reality is different, right? Everybody's reality is different. And that comes back to perspective. So listen, I'm gonna keep this short, man. I needed to do this for myself because, like I said, it's part of my growth and it's part of what has led me to come so far in my thinking. And while I was able to change some behaviors that were so ingrained in me from years ago, but some remnants still show up. Paige, thank you for tuning in. I'm talking about perspective, challenging your perspective, right? Uh, just to reiterate, because if you just tuned in, I just something happened recently that I thought I was completely innocent from. That's natural to place blame because who wants to hold themselves accountable? You're not thinking of it as, oh, I'm not holding myself accountable. Da Vinci, yo. But then when I sat back and analyzed, everything, I looked it over. Like I said, when anything, if you're just tuning in, like I said, when I was in prison, right? Say an incident occurred that turned violent, I would sit back in the hole and I would think, well, what could I have done to prevent it? Yeah, this person violated and I felt the need to react. But how do I prevent it from getting to that triggering point? Oh, well, I said this or I put myself in that situation. You got to take accountability. It doesn't matter if the other person did this, the other person did that. You can't change that. You can't change that. You're going to be put in these situations. We can only change and challenge our own perspectives, our own thought processes, and how we um react to the feelings that build from these things. You know what I mean? You perceive something, you have thoughts that support your perception, you have feelings that follow, and then you act. You know what I mean? So it's very important to challenge our perspective. And like I said, I had an eye-opening moment recently when I realized, like, oh, bro, you're not as innocent in a situation as you thought you were, as you claimed to be. I didn't do that out of dishonesty or any type of intentional lies, but I was lying to myself, I guess. And I didn't realize until I looked things over, like, and actually gave another person a chance to, to speak their reality. And I'm like, damn, damn. And it hurts, bro, because it was so much easier when I was blame free. When I was blame free, like it's cool. Now I can get over a situation that I know is no longer good for me because I'm blame free, right? It's all the other person's fault. But that didn't end up being reality, bro. I thought it was, and I'm not like now I'm sitting back like fucked up because I'm like, bro, you, you played a part in this, like, you know what I mean? Yo, cuz, what's up? YBK Cutter, Nathaniel, what's up? So D, what's up? So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like now it's not as easy because I realized, oh, I was wrong too in this specific situation I'm referring to. Like I said, it's not important what it was, man, but we're all in these situations. We all get in these situations where we think we didn't contribute to something that happened that we don't like. Because like I said, it's easier to move on, it's easier to keep going, and it's easier to live with yourself when you think when you're guilt free, when you think that that you didn't have any part of something. I'm like, uh damn, I'm not. I played my part and I will adjust accordingly in the future in other interactions that are similar to this. But the important message here is challenging your perspective. Your perspective is not always correct, and we have to have flexibility. I preach a lot on this. People challenging their perspective, and I realized as I sat back, like, damn, bro, was I being hypocritical? I mean, it wasn't intentional, but I was wrong in certain things that I thought. So I have to challenge myself on that. I have to hold myself accountable, and I have to own up. I have to own up to my part, my contribution. You know what I mean? So it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do, man. But like I said, that's the moral of the story, man. Challenge your perspectives. They're not always correct. Just because you believe something, that's based off of your core beliefs. You think somebody's wrong in this or wrong in that, or somebody's doing something that's not in accordance with what you would do. You automatically, in your mind, like you demonize it. Your way is right, everybody else's way is wrong. And we need to start looking at that and protecting ourselves from making that a habit of thinking that way. Always be open to being corrected, um, even if you have to correct yourself. Stay tuned, Justice Felon, man. Thoughts from a felon. These are my thoughts of the day, man. Challenge your perspective.